from Rishikesh, Uttarakhand. I am a recent graduate from NIT Uttarakhand in Computer Science and Engineering. And this time it was my second attempt for CAT. I scored an overall percentile of 99.88 with the sectional breakup of 95.43 in VARC, 99.9 in DILR, and 99.68 in the quantitative ability section. So I used to love the quantitative ability section. So what I did was I just used to solve the questions in that particular section and I didn't pay much attention to the other two sections. So in the month of October, I guess in the middle of the October, what I noticed was that my scores were quite straight. Like there was a plateau in my scores. I was just scoring 110 and 120 in each of the single mocks. So then what I realized was that I need to pay equal attention to each of the particular sections. So to compensate that, I gave around like 15 to 20 marks in just the November month. Like before the exam, I gave like 15 to 20 marks just to compensate that. And through which I got like around 99.68 percentile. So this year I already knew that I need to focus on every single like particular section. So what I did in the I started preparing in the month of July, and every particular weekend I started giving a particular mock, and I used to analyze that. So as the pattern changed, I already knew that the speed is gonna be a crucial factor this year. So I started focusing more on my speed. As let's say in a DLI section, so last year if you waste 5 of a minute, so it doesn't matter a lot because it was 1/12 of the entire time. But this year, if you miss 5 minutes or you waste 5 minutes in a particular set, then you are gonna waste like 1/8, which is nearly like 50% more. So I basically decreased the mistakes in my calculations, and basically to sum up 70 to 80% of the entire preparation was basically based on the mocks, and that's what I guess everybody does. So talking about myself, my VARC section was my weakest link. So I never read anything. I was an engineer, so I wasn't much into reading stuff and everything like that. And so what I did was this year basically I solved as much questions as possible. I read 2 novels, which is like a huge transformation from reading not a single novel. So basically I focused a lot. I divided the VRC section into different strategies. I implemented different strategies. Like I tried attempting every single question, and I even tried attempting only 20 questions or 15 questions just to increase your accuracy. So I tried different strategies for 3 to 4 marks, and then I used to analyze that which particular strategy helps me. I even tried solving VA first, then RC, and in some of the mocks I tried solving RC first, then the VA. And I think using all these strategies helped me, as I got to know which particular strategy helped favors me a lot. So that's what I basically did. And to solve the RC, I basically solved a lot. I used to analyze my mocks, what all things I am not properly doing, and I used to eliminate the options because it's not my strong suit, so I didn't know how to do it. So what I used to do is I used to eliminate my options, and that's how I used to get into the required option, correct option. For the VA, I used to watch the videos of the people who were telling us how to solve a particular VA, preferably the para jumbles or the odd one out. So that's how I did. So initially what I did was I cleared all my basics of the every single topic. Then I moved further forward with the questions that were of average difficulty to the higher difficulty. So one thing that I did in the mocks was I used to solve my entire QA section into 3 parts. In the first round, let's say for this particular year where each particular section was of 40 minutes, for the initial 15 minutes, I used to solve the easiest 10 or 12 questions because they are the easiest, like you can solve them in a minute or so. In the second round, I used to solve another like 6 to 7 questions in the other 15 minutes. And in the last 10 minutes, I tried to solve additional 1 or 2 questions. So basically, what I did was I already knew that a ratio, proportion, and logarithm were my like strongest, or these are the ones that are easiest. So I used to check like if there's a question from a log, or there's a question on the ratios or averages. So these questions are pretty easy. So I used to do them at my first round, and I knew that geometry is pretty tough for me, or probability. So I used to do them at a later stage because it helps me basically when you start solving questions and you know that you have already solved 20 questions, sorry, 10 questions in 20 minutes. So you know that you have 30 marks in your bag. So all you need to do is optimize that. So that was pretty much my strategy for the QA section. For the DILR section, what I did was I segregated the entire DILR section into 10 or 12 subsections. So as you have checked, there are only 10 to 12 domains from where a particular DILR set can come. So there is a particular domain of games and tournaments. Then there's another one for truth and truth tellers. There's additional one for the arrangements, then cubes. So what I did was I used to solve 2 to 3 samples of each of these particular domains, and through these I got familiarized with each and particular domain. Then what I used to do was I already knew that truth tellers were pretty easy. Then cubes were pretty easy. Then games and tournaments were pretty easy. Then arrangements, if like it has 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 variables, that's pretty easy. But it gets pretty tough if it has 5 or more than 5 variables. So while solving the question, I used to check whether this particular arrangement has 5 variables or not. So in DILR section, set selection becomes the most important thing. Like excluding 2 or 3 students, I don't think anyone can solve like all the questions in the stipulated time frame. So what you can do is at the initial level, you can start like you can set a target that you will solve 3 sets in the 40 minutes time frame. And as the time progresses, or as you start preparing more, you can increase the 3 sets to 3.5, 4, 4.5, or 5. So this is the similar strategy that I used, and I think it's DLR is mostly about the set selection only. So if you are able to select a particular set and you are able to solve it, even if in like let's say 7 to 8 minutes, I think you'll it's pretty easy to fetch a 99 plus percentile in the DLR section. So I think though it is moving into more into like logical part, but considering that DI is now moving into like there's a mixed type of question in the DLI section. So earlier there were questions that were directly from the DI section, and there were questions that were strictly based on the logical reasoning. But now they are like mixing the questions. Like there's a question which will also check your DI as well as the logical reasoning. And also in the like BRC section, critical reasoning comes into a lot right now. Oh, there are couple of things that needs to be considered. So the first one is that you should create a database of your own. So where you can keep the track of the scores that you are getting in all of your mocks. So let's say at the first mock you got 80 percentile, in the second one you got 82, then gradually you're increasing or you're creating a plateau or whatever. So it gets pretty easy when you analyze your mocks. So there has to be that. Secondly, try multiple strategies. Like for me, if I'll try 10 strategies, then I'll get to know like which particular strategy suits me. So try multiple strategies and find the one which suits you the most. Third thing is create a notebook. Create a notebook where you pen down all the important formulas, all the basic formulas, a particular question which is like can be solved through a one particular way only. So create a notebook, and because gets pretty handy when you try to solve it or when you try to revise your entire like preparation. The fourth one and the final one is that, like, no matter how good or how bad your kids were, or no matter how good or how bad your mocks have been, if you are able to like tackle the pressure in those 2 to 3 hours, I think you'll do great. So this year, as I'm currently working, so I didn't had much of a time. While so talking about the last year, as I was at my college, so what I used to do was I used to go to watch a movie in the weekends, or I used to go out for having a dinner or something. So all these things like uh, give yourself a break after like you are preparing for 2 weeks or so. Give a break to yourself, go out, watch a movie, or do anything that you love. And that's how you basically release all your pressure. So, what I did last year was that, like, I was preparing very hard in the month of November. So, in the last 2 weeks or a week, I didn't prepare. I didn't give a single mock. I went out 3 days straight to watch a movie and to like enjoy myself. Like this was like 21st, 27th, 23rd, and 24th was the exam. So that's what I did. So you can like do similar things just to release your pressure. Like if you're preparing for 2 months straight, then definitely your mind will get tired and it will be pretty tough for you to basically perform better at the exam. But if you enjoy yourself while preparing, I think that helps a lot. In a world where education is converting into a very capitalist model, I think EduShastra is giving us personalized education at a very pretty reasonable rate. And I think like they are bridging the gap between the underprivileged section and like providing them quality education at a very pretty cheap rate. So I think it's a very noble cause what they are like doing, and I wish them all the best.